Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Meet the Candidates. My name is Jimmy Tingle. We have a wonderful candidate coming up right now. He is running for his second term for the Cambridge School Committee. Please welcome Jose Luis Rojas Villarreal. Jose Luis is serving his first term in the Cambridge School Committee. Originally from Mexico, he has been living in Cambridge for 20 years and has kids in our public schools. Jose Luis works 4 days a week in community finance, and he has experience working for public and private boards. Please welcome to the show the one and only Mr. Jose Luis. Hello, Jose. How are you?
Doing well, Jimmy. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I have to ask you, Jose, with the pandemic, with the schools closed, with all of the chaos over the last year, first of all, how did it go? And second of all, why are you running for another term on the Cambridge School Committee?
Thank you, Jimmy. How did it go? I mean, it was hard. It was definitely tense and scary at times, but I think in the end it went better than you could expect given everything that happened. I think we had a good team and the school committee. A lot of us were new members. There was a lot of communication. We had good leadership in the chair of the school committee. So I think we all rallied together and tackled the challenges as best as we could. So it was challenging, but it was also a good experience.
Who was the chair of the school committee?
The chair of the school committee is the current mayor,
the current mayor. Okay.
Yeah. So she was really good at making sure we had enough time to discuss things, so we reached consensus and move forward.
Great. And so tell me why you're running for a second term.
So why am I running for a second term? Well, one was because the first term has been a single issue term. It's been a lot about COVID, but I really want to have a second chance to continue doing the works that I was trying to accomplish in my first term, which includes everything from working on a new district plan to make sure that we have high expectations for all of our children, make sure that the programs that do work in our schools get expanded and are available to more of our students, dealing with construction as well. I mean, basically having a clear construction and maintenance plans that allows us to have the right facilities for a growing student population, increasing the ability for people of various backgrounds to have a voice in the district, etc. So it's trying to get to all those other things that are also important for us.
Mm-hmm. And what year? What year are your children in? What year in school? And what schools are they in?
Yeah. The older one graduated middle school, and now he's at CRLS, so he's a freshman. And my younger one just entered middle school at the Amigos School.
On Putnam Ave?
Upton Street, I think it's called.
Upton. Oh, I'm sorry. Upton.
Yeah,
okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. And are they enjoying their experience in the Cambridge Public Schools?
They love it. I mean, during the pandemic, I wouldn't say that they liked it, but they did okay. They were self-starters, so they did okay, but they love being back in person, and they both love being at the next level, right? They're both entering a new academic level, and they're enjoying the challenges and also the social aspect of school.
Right. So, and are they proud of their father on the school committee?
I guess you would have to ask them. I think they are. Yes. they gave me a nice little surprise party the night of the election 2 years ago.
That's great. And they know they can't misbehave because their father's on the school committee, right?
That's right. Yes.
So tell me, coming into the next term, what do you see the biggest challenges for the school committee are? Because I've interviewed a few people. They have said they had similar feelings that you expressed about there's a compatibility. There seem to be people working together. They seem to be working well as a team. But what are the main challenges that you want to address in the next term if you are so fortunate to be elected?
Yes, thank you, Jimmy. And I do hope that our listeners do consider me for the number one vote. I guess I have 3 short-term priorities and 3 long-term priorities. On the short-term aspect, I think that the first thing we need to do is make sure that we support our interim superintendent in implementing the recovery plan that we have in response to COVID. So help her, whether it's resources or changes or adjustments to the plan, making sure that that plan gets implemented and helps our kids. The second one is to develop a new strategic plan or new district plan. Our current plan lapsed in the middle of COVID. So now we've had 2 budget cycles where we don't have a district plan, which is a strategic roadmap of where we want to see the district go. And it's really important to have that strategic roadmap so that we can then make decisions on budgets and programs and initiatives that we want to fund to get to those goals. And lastly, I also want to make sure that we, as quickly as possible, move to hire a permanent superintendent. I assume that our interim will be one of the candidates. So whether it's her or someone else that we hire, I think it's important to hire a permanent superintendent, which then will allow that person to hire permanent people under their leadership. Currently, there's a lot of interim leadership positions in the district, and that just creates a sense of not instability, but just a question of what's going to happen. And it's important to have a solid leadership base to get things going.
And the last couple of superintendents, are they lasting long enough to get the job done, or what do you think? And how do you what is your opinion of the interim superintendent now?
Okay, so regarding the first question, I think interim superintendents usually for districts like ours usually last maybe two terms, and then they move on to other roles. 2 superintendents ago, he lasted 2 terms. Our current, the one that just left, lasted about 1.5, so he was a bit short. And our interim superintendent, I think she's coming in with a lot of great ideas. She's really building bridges for the community. And so I wish her the best, and I do hope that she applies to become one of the candidates for our permanent superintendent position.
Mm-hmm. And what is a superintendent's term? Is it 2 years?
Well, it's a contract. I mean, the committee could choose the term, but I think usually I think they're 3-year terms.
Okay, so they're there. Even if you serve 1.5 terms, you're there 4.5 years, roughly. And if you serve 2 terms, you're there 6 years. And so having a strong superintendent with permanent people, very important. Tell me, do the schools? I know when I interviewed you and other candidates a couple of years ago, it seemed that a lot of the schools were on their own. Were they on their own curriculum in terms of the principals' priorities in terms of the schools, or are people on the same page, generally speaking, throughout the city, regardless of which school you're attending?
I guess it's a yes and yes. I think both are true statements. I think one of the strengths of Cambridge is that we have different schools that provide different ways of teaching things, and so they have some independence. At the same time, we do have a district plan, or we should have a new district plan soon, but so we all have a North Star to which we're all shooting towards. That said, I think during the pandemic, it was really important, given the changes in remote teaching and hybrid teaching, the district did sort of provide a more structured way of doing things across all of our schools. And that is still currently the case. And so I think as the pandemic subsides, I think we'll go back to having some more independence for each of our schools. But currently, I think there is we're leaning more towards having a one district policy on teaching.
Great. And do you think we'll get to the point? I know, again, many of the parents have expressed, you might live in East Cambridge, but you might have to go to school in North Cambridge, or you might live in North Cambridge and you have to go to school in Cambridge Port or something. Do you think that we'll get to a point in the city, or that it's an admirable goal, that regardless of what section of the city you live in, there's going to be a school that you can literally walk to, right, which would help with environmental health, traffic and congestion, that will serve the needs of the students that live in that particular area? I mean, is that a long-term goal for the city, or is that something that's not that important to the school committee?
I think it'll be difficult physically to have a school in every single neighborhood. So I think you always have children that have to go a bit farther than other children. But I think what I really want to make sure is that we have really good schools so that any parent can choose the best school for their kid and they can get into that school, right? We have a controlled choice, and the ideal is that parents could get into their first and second choice schools, whether it's a local school or it's one a bit farther away, but that they don't have to go to a school that it was not their top choice.
Right. Okay, great. And how about a closing statement? Jose Luis, a closing statement of why people should elect you and where you want them to find you on your website, and what number do you want them to vote for you?
Well, the number has to be number one, Jimmy, of course. So no, I want to thank you, Jimmy, for the time here, and I want to thank everybody who's been watching. Please, I really hope that you consider me as your number one vote. I have shown that I can achieve things in the school committee this year. I also have a background that helped me think a little bit differently from a lot of other candidates when it comes to long-term thinking, when it comes to budgets. And I think I've shown that I can bring people together to make, to reach consensus or get us to a place where we can move forward on decisions by bringing people together. My website is votejoseluis.org. Please go there to see more details on the topics that I care about, and also how you can get involved. I mean, if you could tell 5 or 10 or 20 of your friends to vote for me and pass the word, that's how we get the movement going. And so on my website, you can also volunteer, donate, or find other ways that you can support my campaign. So thank you, Jamie, again.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you the best of luck, and I will see you on the campaign trail soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jim.
Bye-bye, Jose Luis. Bye-bye.